My name is Norik Shikata, Deputy Cabinet Secretary for Public Relations at the Prime Minister's Office. At the outset, let me just do a recap of press conferences that Mr. Edano held today, twice in the morning and in the evening. As for the morning press conference, he referred to the issues of regarding Fukushima Daiichi. The Japanese government is now examining various measures to bring the situation of Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant under control and reduce the radioactive levels in the vicinity of the plant to the minimum level. We are examining various options to tackle the situation. And regarding food shipment and consumption regulations, Mr. Edano mentioned there is possibility that regulation on shipments and consumption of agricultural products can be lifted if food safety is secured continually based on radioactive readings. The timing of lifting such regulations is largely affected by weather conditions and other factors. We are closely examining and monitoring the situation. And also regarding the situation of Fukushima Daini, he mentioned that he's been reported that cooling operation of all reactors at Fukushima Daini nuclear power plant has been working without any problem. And on the issue of plutonium, he mentioned we'll seek advice of experts to decide whether monitoring for plutonium should be carried out in a wider area, but it is said that plutonium is a relatively heavy substance. Therefore, our current stance is to continue strong monitoring in the vicinity of Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. And in the evening, Mr. Edano referred to the following points. Regarding Fukushima Daiichi, he mentioned we'll monitor the radioactive levels of the radius within the 20-kilometer from the plant while fully ensuring the safety of workers who enter the evacuation zone to conduct monitoring. Based on the monitoring results, we'll explore the possibility whether evacuees whose houses are located within the evacuation zone can go home tentatively. And on the issue of possible impacts on marine resources, he mentioned radioactive substances were detected in seawater around the nuclear power plant. At the present time, no serious risk on marine resources in the sea around the reactors can be seen, but we'll thoroughly conduct monitoring on the radioactive levels of seawater in the area. And let me just touch upon two telephone conversations that Prime Minister Khan had today. One is with President Barack Obama. It's his third time to have a telephone conversation with the U.S. President. President Khan expressed his gratitude for the full support received from the United States, particularly from President Obama in responding to the quake and tsunami and to the accidents at Fukushima Daiichi. He further conveyed appreciation for the close consultations being held between the relevant parties or institutions of Japan and the United States to respond to the accidents at Fukushima Daiichi. Prime Minister Khan also stated that Japan would like to continue to have close consultations with the United States and to receive assistance to further respond to the issues. In response, President Obama repeatedly offered his deepest sympathy and expressed his confidence that Japan would achieve reconstruction. He further stated that the U.S. government is prepared to provide necessary assistance in both the short and long term. And lastly, there was another telephone conversation between Prime Minister Khan and Chancellor Angela Merkel this evening. Chancellor Merkel mentioned that she extends condolences to the aftermath of quakes representing German people, and individual German people are praying that Japan will overcome these difficulties, and Japanese disciplined response is highly appreciated in Germany, and Germany wishes to support Japan in various ways. Prime Minister Kan mentioned he appreciated the kind words of condolence and support from Germany, and also he explained the situation in Japan, focusing on the situation of Fukushima Daiichi, and he mentioned that Japan would like to provide information to the international society with a maximum level of transparency. And also, Mr. Kan mentioned that by improving the situations regarding the aftermath of quakes and tsunami and overcoming this crisis, he is very much looking forward to meeting with Chancellor Merkel at the occasion of G8 summit to be held in the end of May. That's all from me, and I'd like to now turn to Mr. Nishiyama.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shikata. I'd like to briefly update the current status of Fukushima Daiichi plants. Regarding Unit 1, after we increased the volume of pure water to be introduced to the reactor of Unit 1, the temperature of the pressure vessel declined. This is a good sign. This water introduction is now carried by an electricity-driven tentative pump. As for spent fuel pool of Unit 1, we will throw pure water to the spent fuel pool of the Unit 1 with a concrete pumping machine on March 31st, tomorrow. Regarding power restoration, we'll confirm integrity of auxiliary system and check trans for lights in the turbine building. Regarding stagnant water in the turbine building, we pumped up radiated stagnant water in the turbine building basement to the hot well. The depth of water is now 20 centimeters compared with 40 centimeters a few days ago. However, we found the hot well of Unit 1 is now full. Therefore, we need to find space in some other tanks. Regarding a trench which is attached to the Unit 1, where we found water, we'll lead some of the water in the trench attached to the Unit 1 to some place to lower the surface of the water by 1 meter. Regarding Unit 2, the temperature of the pressured vessel went up, and we increased the amount of pure water introduced there. Regarding a spent fuel pool, when we introduced pure water through spent fuel pool cooling system powered by an electricity-driven tentative pumps, there was some trouble in the pump, and we changed to fire engines for pumping. We will resume this introduction of water to the spent fuel pool very soon. Regarding power restoration, the situation is same as Unit 1. stagnant water of Unit 2, regarding this, we have been moving water which remains in the tank where we have a plan to move the stagnant water in the turbine building of the Unit 2. Unit 3. Regarding reactor, parameters of it are stable. Regarding the spent fuel pool, we threw pure water to the spent fuel pool of the Unit 3 with a concrete pumping machine yesterday. Power restoration of Unit 3 will confirm integrity of auxiliary system and receive and charge power at the board of direct current 125 volt electric charge board. Regarding stagnant water, the situation is almost the same as Unit 2. Regarding Unit 4, we have been throwing water to the spent fuel pool of the Unit 4 with a concrete pumping machine. Regarding monitoring of radiation, we found 2,572.5 times of iodine 131 from the seawater seawater sample taken at 8:20 a.m. yesterday at 330 meters south of canal attached to the units 1 through 4. We also found 3,355 times of iodine 131 from the seawater sample taken at 1:55 p.m. of yesterday at the same place. From the seawater samples taken at 8:40 a.m. and 2:10 p.m. yesterday at 30 meters north of canal attached to the units 5 and 6, 1,234.5 and 1,262.5 times of iodine 131. We found those figures respectively. Those figures shows no immediate negative effect for human health nearby because the area 20 kilometers from the Daiichi nuclear power plants is designated as an area for evacuation, and no such activities as fishing is conducted there. Also, it is expected that the sea water will not be directly consumed by the people, and its effects on sea crops, seaweed, will be minimal because it will be dissipated, and within 8 days, iodine's radiation level will be halved. However, we will closely monitor the data. And one new information is we will spray synthetic plastic to make radiated dust not to fly over to the other places or to the sea. We will begin the trial experimental usage tomorrow, and after seeing the results, we'll use it in the other places of the site. Thank you very much.
I'd like to turn to my colleague from Next.
川田でございます。
Next, at a point beyond 20-kilometer radius from the Fukushima Daiichi, has been monitoring both the land as well as the sea zone. at monitoring posts out of the 20-kilometer zone of Fukushima Daiichi. So today I'd like to briefly touch upon monitoring in the seas. Up to now, we've been monitoring the sea zone about 30 kilometers from Fukushima Daiichi, and up to now, we've been checking the seawater, surface seawater radionuclide concentration, but this time we started to measure also the radionuclide concentration at lower levels, deeper levels. And the iodine 131 and cesium 137 have been detected through these monitorings, but they were relatively low levels and have been fully dissipated, we believe. Thank you.
Then I'd like to ask Mr. Shinano of the Nuclear Safety Commission. Please listen to simultaneous interpretation during initial remarks.
Thank you. Good evening. I am from the Secretariat of the Nuclear Safety Commission. So this is the update of the daily evaluation result of environmental radiation monitoring results. Overall, we have no findings that would suggest immediate health risk on the human body. Now, I would like to report each item. The original data that we have assessed was what was published at 6:45 p.m. yesterday. Starting with spatial radiation dose rate, there was a slight difference from the previous rate, but overall this does not affect people's health. Secondly, radioactivity in the area, that is the concentration of radioactivity in the air. And since the day before yesterday, in the measurements that was collected, the level had seen some increase, but overall this would not affect people's health in the current condition. Going on to aerial monitoring, aviation monitoring that is, we have received a new set of data. But in order to identify the level of diffusion of radioactive material, the data needs to be collected by the airplanes or aircrafts flying at low altitudes and low speed, which we have instructed MEX to do. Now moving on to environmental sample, pond water, rainwater, soil fallout, and seawater. The measurement was relatively high continuously. For tap water and food, there needs to be continuous monitoring. Going on to the fifth item, that is the environmental radioactivity level survey by prefecture. So not only in the periphery of the nuclear power station in each prefecture, measurements have been made for environmental radioactivity level, but none would suggest health risk hazards. Now turning to tap water. At some monitoring ports, iodine 131 and radioactive cesium 137 had been collected, but these are lower than the indices concerning the limited ingestion of food and drink. And also the readings of other radioactive material have come down, so this would not be an immediate health risk. However, we need to continue the monitoring. That's all. Thank you.
Noriko Iseki of MHLW, please.
I would like to briefly provide the test result reported from prefectures in the food safety monitoring test as of yesterday, 29th. From 8 prefectures, which are Chiba, Niigata, Saitama, Gunma, Ibaraki, Nagano, Kanagawa, and Yamagata, we have test result for 35 food samples, and none of them are found for positive at levels preceding the maximum limits. I just draw the attention to the fish samples tested in Chiba Prefecture and Kanagawa Prefecture. We have 6 samples in total, and none of them radionuclides are detected. Thank you.
Then Mr. Matsunaga from Foreign Ministry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Shikata. I'd like to add one event expected tomorrow with relation to foreign affairs. Tomorrow, His Excellency Mr. Sarkozy, President of the French Republic, will pay a visit to Japan. During his stay in Japan, the President will hold a meeting with Prime Minister Kan. Upon the Tohoku-Pacific Ocean earthquake, as the chair of the G8 and G20 summit this year, President Sarkozy has been expressing his intention to visit Japan to express the support and solidarity of the international community to Japan. And then I'd like to update about the assistance from other countries and territories, as well as by the international organizations. As of yesterday, relief supplies from 29 countries, territories, and international organizations have arrived in Japan and have been delivered gradually to the area affected by the earthquake. Today, I'd like to focus on assistance of international organizations. Please refer to the matrix updated today. UNDSC, the United Nations Disaster Assessment and Coordination, 7-member of UNDSC team and 3-member UN OCHA team worked from 13th to 14th of March. 3 UNDSC members who are OCHA officials have been continuing their work as disaster response coordinators. The United Nations Disaster Assessment and Coordination Cooperation is part of the international emergency response system for sudden onset emergencies, and it is designed to help the United Nations and governments of disaster-affected countries during the first phase of a sudden onset emergency. Next, 8 WFP, World Food Program logistics support personnel arrived Narita on March 15th. Since then, they have been working to assist logistics in Tokyo and Miyagi Prefecture. And 8 IAEA radiation monitoring experts arrived in Narita on March 18th, 22nd, and 23rd. They have been working mainly in Fukushima Prefecture. They have also been undertaking radiation monitoring in Tokyo, Kanagawa, Chiba, Saitama, and Tochigi prefectures. A part of the readings of their monitoring has been made public in IAEA's technical briefings and in IAEA website. IAEA has been working on food monitoring too. 3 IAEA food monitoring experts, including 1 FAO official, arrived in Narita on March 26. Since then, they have been working in Fukushima Prefecture and Ibaraki Prefecture, consulting with relevant Japanese officials. IAEA is further considering the possibility of dispatching experts on maritime radiation monitoring. UNICEF has been providing relief supplies. They have provided 40,000 bottles of water, 200,000 underwear for children, toys, education kits, recreation kits, and picture books. These supplies have been provided in Miyagi Prefecture, Iwate Prefecture, and Fukushima Prefecture. ITU, International Telecommunication Union has released 152 units of satellite telecommunication terminals, etc., from March 17th to 22nd. World Food Programme provided 50 tons of nutrient-enhanced biscuits, which is 500,000 pieces on March 24th. They also transported relief supplies such as blankets and foodstuffs received from foreign countries, etc. These supplies were provided in Miyagi Prefecture and Ishimaki City. And in addition, as I mentioned yesterday, UNHCR provided 1,794 pieces of solar lamp yesterday to Ishimaki City of Miyagi Prefecture. Lastly, I'd like to mention about agricultural products. In yesterday's WTO Trade Negotiations Committee meeting, the government of Japan requested the cooperation of other countries and territories not to respond to the issue of food safety concerning Japan's nuclear power plant incident in an excessive manner, and not to take measures such as unjustifiable trade bans. Addressing WTO Trade Negotiating Committee, Ambassador Yoichi Otabe, Japanese representative, stated that we regret that we have caused some sense of uneasiness associated with the exports of Japanese products due to the damages at the nuclear power plant. We continue to try to provide accurate information for the international community as quickly as possible with a view to ensure maximum transparency. We kindly request, he said, members not to overreact by implementing unfair import regulations and restrictions. The government of Japan intends to continue to seek other countries' cooperation in other relevant WTO committees, including the forthcoming SPS committee, which means Sanitary and Phytosanitary System Committee meetings that are scheduled today and tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Now, I'd like to open the floor for questions. When you ask a question, please identify yourself and with the affiliation. Henry?
Henry Trix from The Economist. Just 2 days ago, I think it was Mr. Nishiyama who mentioned that the biggest worry at that stage was the leakage of tainted water into the sea. And now, 2 days later, there are signs that iodine levels are very high in the sea, or have risen considerably in the sea. And yet you seem to be quite relaxed about that now, saying that there's no damage to no worry to human health or to fish or anything. I'm worried what's changed. Why were you so worried about it 2 days ago, and now that it's happened, you're not worried about it? Is that because it's just very easily dilutable, or do you think that it's not likely to continue? Why do you seem so relaxed?
エコノミストのものですけれども、2日前に西山さんは確かその時の最大の懸念は汚染された水が海に流れ出ることだと、漏れ出ることだとおっしゃったと思います。で、それから2日後、2日経った今、相当程度海水の様相のレベルが上昇しているという兆候が見られるに至ったにもかかわらず、相当あまりそんなに心配していらっしゃらない、リラックスしていらっしゃるように思うんですけれども、そして人間の健康に影響を及ぼす水準ではないと、あるいは人間の健康に対して心配することはない、健康への影響を心配することはない、魚、魚介類などに関しても心配には及ばないというような、割とそんなに心配していないご様子なんですけれども、2日前は 汚染された水が海に流れ出ることが最も大きな懸念事項だとおっしゃっていたのに、実際にその汚染された水が海に流れ出た今になって、なぜそんなに心配する必要がなくなったんでしょうか。それは簡単にどんどん希釈していくと思っておられるからなのか、それともそんなに長くは続かないと、そんなに長くは続かない可能性が高いからなんでしょうか。その2日経った今、あまり心配されている様子がないんですが。
私が申し上げたのは、ちょっと記憶が定かでないところもありますけれども、今、一番我々が難しいと思っているのは、燃料を冷やすために水を入れることと、その水が溜まって溢れてしまいかねないこととのそのバランスをどう取るかということです。
Regarding what I said, my memory is not partly all that clear, but the greatest difficulty we face now is how we can strike a balance between the need to inject water in order to cool the fuel on the one hand, and on the other hand, how to deal with the possibility of the accumulation of that water that could lead to an overflow.
でまだ海にその水が漏れているかどうかについてははっきり我々確信を持っていませんけれども、いずれにしても、そういうことはなるべく少ない量にしなければいけないと思っています。
And we do not yet have anything that shows us for certain whether that water is leaking into the sea or not. In any event, we believe that we need to keep any such flowing into the sea as little as possible.
そういう中で海の中の放射性物質の濃度が高まっているということは非常に心配されることでありますが、ただこのレベルは今の時点では人の体にそのネガティブな影響をそれほどほとんど与えないものだという点は事実として人々に分かってもらいたいと思ってそのことを申し上げました。
It is a matter of great concern, however, that the level of radioactive material in the sea is rising. The levels that we detect at the current moment, however, are not levels that would have any negative effect on human health. And we wanted everyone to understand that as a fact.
Just to supplement, you have already probably seen the paper distributed by Nuclear Safety Commission, where page number 2 under environmental sample, bullet number 4, there is a viewpoint expressed from Nuclear Safety Commission, which I quote, it is considered that concentration of radioactive materials emitted into the seawater will be considerably thin since it is proliferated along with the tidal current before actually ingested by marine life such as fish and seaweed. Since the I-131 has a relatively shorter half-life period, 8 days, it is assumed that its concentration will be substantially decreased before people take such marine food. Go ahead.
Testing. John Boyd, IEEE Spectrum Magazine. This is for Nishiyama-san. About the pumping of the stagnant water from the turbine basements. I'm confused about what is being reported by NISA, TEPCO, and also NHK, which they base their reports on those two organizations. Yesterday evening, you said that stagnant water in the 3 basements of the turbine buildings was being pumped into the hot wells. Could you please define what you mean by hot well? And NHK was reporting today, and I understood that you also had said yesterday morning that in the case of units 2 and 3, the water could not be pumped into the condensation tanks because they were already full. And then the storage tanks located outside the turbine buildings that would normally receive the water from the condenser tanks, they were also full. So as I understand it, TEPCO was then planning to pump water from these outside tanks to surge tanks, normally used to remove the water from the suppression pool in the reactors, in order to free up the tanks outside so that the condenser water could then be moved to the outside tanks. So when you said last night that the stagnant water was being pumped directly into the hot wells, it seemed to contradict this, and so I'm confused. I'm writing for engineers, so I have to be really exact in explaining this. Thank you.
スペクトラムマガジン、聞こえますか、すいません。なんかエンジニアなど専門家向けの雑誌のようです。西山さんに質問なんですけれども、タービン建屋の地下のたまり水の汲み上げに関して、原子力保安院と東電、それとこの2つのこれにのっとって放送している NHK の報告に関してちょっと私混乱してるんですけれども、昨夜西山審議官がおっしゃったのは3つのタービン建屋の地下に溜まっているたまり水はホットウェルに組み上げて流すとおっしゃいましたけれども、ホットウェルの定義を教えていただけますでしょうか。というのは昨日の午前中おっしゃったのは第2号機と第3号機の水はその腹水貯蔵タンクがいっぱいなので汲み上げて流せないと。なので腹水貯蔵タンクの中にある水をタービン建屋の外のタンクに流さなければいけないんだけれども、流さなきゃならないと、腹水貯蔵タンクが2号機と3号機はいっぱいなのでと。でも私の理解では東電の計画というのは外部のタンクの水をサージタンクに流して、そうすることによって外部のタンクに入っている水を減らして、腹水貯蔵タンクに入っている水を外部のタンクに入れられるようにするというのが東電の計画であると理解しているんですが、そうしますと昨日西山審議官がおっしゃった地下のたまり水をそのホットウェルに流し込むというのと矛盾しているように思うんですけれども、私の雑誌はエンジニアなどの専門家向け雑誌なので、このところを正確に報告したいと思うんですが。
まず登場する、器はですね、腹水器とそれから腹水貯蔵タンク、それから、もう一つサプレッションプールのプール水のサージタンク、この3つです。
これは、腹水器は何と訳しますかね。こうですね。Okay. The containers that are available and can be used are the hot well, the condensed water storage tank, and the surge tank of the suppression pool. These are the 3 containers, water containers that we can use.
それでたまり水を汲み上げて、複水域に入れる、そういう直接にそういう作業をしたのは、1号機についてだけです。
And it is only for unit number 1 that we were able to directly pump the stagnant water into the hot well.
で2号機と3号機については今の3つについて3つの器について、まず2つ目の器から3つ目の器に水を移し、その次に1つ目の複水器から2つ目の複水貯蔵タンクに水を移し、その上でたまり水を複水器に入れるという、そういう作業をしております。で今はまだ最初の段階が始まったところです。
And while for units number 2 and 3, of the 3 types of containers that we can use, what we have to do is to move the water in the condensed water storage tank into the surge tank of the suppression pool, and then move the water in the hot well into the condensed water storage tank so that we can make the hot well empty, and then we can move the water in, then we can move the stagnant water into the hot well. And for units number 2 and 3, we have just embarked upon the very first stage in that 3-stage operation.
で確かに昨日の夜私が申し上げたのは今の3つを説明すると非常に複雑なので最終的な目的であるたまり水を複水器に入れるというところにおいて、その点だけを説明したので混乱させたのは申し訳なかったと思います。
It is true that last night, in my explanation, I thought that if I explained all of these 3 stages, I would be complicated. So I only explained the final objective, which was to move the stagnant water into the hot well. So I did not go through all of the 3 stages yesterday. I only mentioned the very last stage, which was our final objective. And so I'm sorry for confusing you.
And please define hot well.
で、ホットウェルの定義をしていただけますか。
タービンから出てきた蒸気を海水で冷やす装置でして、その複水器の中の蒸気が入ってくる部分をホットウェルと言います。
It is an equipment that cools the steam coming out of the turbine and cool it with seawater. And the hot well is the area in the condenser where the steam comes in.
それからもう一つ付け加えると、今日先ほど説明したんですけれども、1号機についても1号機は最初たまり水をホットウェルに汲み出すという作業をしておりましたけれども、ホットウェルの方がいっぱいになってしまったことが分かったので、結局は2号機や3号機と同じような作業をしなければならない状況になってきました。
And also, if I may add, earlier in my explanation, I mentioned that for unit number 1, we are pumping the stagnant water into the hot well. We did start to directly pump the stagnant water into the hot well for unit number 1, but subsequently we found that the hot well eventually became full. So after all, we are in a situation where we have to go through the same 3 stages for unit number 1 as well.
I'm sorry, I'm still not clear. So the hot well is inside the condenser tank?
まだちょっとはっきりわからないんですが、そうしますと、ホットウェルというのはその複水器のコンデンサーのタンクの中にあるんでしょうか。
その通りです。
Yes, that's correct.
Next question, please.
Hi, my name is Kosaku Narioka, and I am with Dow Jones Newswires. I have a question to Mr. Nishiyama, and this is more like a broader question in a broader context. Do you think the government response to this nuclear crisis was late? It appears to me your response is only on day-by-day basis. And do you have any long-term strategy for addressing the issue? If so, what is your long-term strategy?
ダウ・ジョーンズ・ニュースワイヤーの成岡と言います。西山審議官に質問ですけれども、もう少し広い視点からの質問をしたいと思います。今回の原子力危機に対する政府の対応は遅かったとお考えでしょうか。私としては西山審議官のお答えはその日々の流れに関する話ばかりなんですけれども、この現在の危機への対応のための長期的な戦略というのはお持ちなんでしょうか。でもし長期的な戦略をお持ちだとすれば、どのような長期的な戦略なのでしょうか。
今回の事故の原因はですね、津波によって緊急時の電源が確保できなくなってしまったこと、それから原子炉の熱を最終的に海に放出する冷却機能が失われたこと、さらに使用済み燃料プールの冷却水を確保できなかったことです。
The cause of the incident that we have this time is one, because we were not able to, because the tsunami made it difficult for us to secure the emergency power supply and emergency power source. And second, the cooling function, which would have enabled the cooling function, which would have enabled the heat from the reactor to be released into the sea, was lost. And the third reason was because we were not able to secure the cooling water for the spent fuel pool.
でこれに対してその津波に襲われた制約条件の中で対応する方法として、海水によってまず原子炉とそれから使用済み燃料プールの冷却水を確保しようとしたということ、それからそれをやりながら今度は電源を復活させて冷却機能を持続可能なものにしようとしたこと、これが我々のまず最初の戦略でした。
And as a means to deal with the situation when we have been faced with the difficult condition that was left after we suffered the tsunami, first of all, we tried to secure cooling water for the reactor as well as the spent fuel pool by using seawater. And number two, at the same time, in parallel with that, we tried to restore the power source in order to be able to achieve a sustainable cooling function. So this was our first strategy.
それで我々としてはその戦略に沿った行動を取ってきましたけれども、いろいろな制約があって、その冷却のタイミングが少し遅れて使用済み、炉心の損傷とかあるいは使用済み燃料の損傷に至ったものです。で、それを踏まえて、その後いずれにしてもその冷却機能を確立するということを目的として現在作業をしております。で、私としてはこれ以上には方法がないと思っています。
And we have been taking action in accordance with that strategy. However, in that process, we faced various constraints. For instance, we were a little bit late in being able to actually secure the cooling function, which resulted in some damage to the core and spent fuel. And taking that into account, we are now working with the objective of establishing a sustainable cooling function. And as far as I am concerned, I do not believe there is no other measure beyond what we are now doing.
それで我々がこれから考えていることは、この冷却今しているプラントを状態をこのままで安定させて、コールドシャットダウンの状態に持っていくということ、それから発電所からの追加的な放射性物質の放出を食い止めること、そして、まずその。
And going forward, what we have in mind as work going forward is one, we are now cooling the plant, and our objective is to continue to cool the plant and stabilize the plant and be able to bring it to a cold shutdown. And second, to prevent any further release of any additional radioactive material from the nuclear power station.
その他に重要なこととしては、今20キロ以内の住民の方に避難していただいているので、このエリアについて安全性を確認して、なるべく早く戻っていただける状態にするということ、それから食物の制限などもしていますから、そういうものについて再検討をして、なるべく早く解除するということ、でそういうことをしながら汚染したこのプラントを処理していくということ、こういった戦略を持っています。
And other important objectives that we have going forward is regarding the area within a radius of 20 kilometers which is designated as an evacuation area for residents that are living in that area. We wish to be able to reconfirm the safety of that area so that the residents, so that we can create a situation where the residents can return to that area as soon as possible. And also, since we have placed limits on the ingestion of food from certain areas, we wish to be able to review the limitations that we have placed on the ingestion of food from certain areas and be able to lift that limit as soon as possible. And at the same time, we intend to move ahead with the treatment and management of the contamination within the nuclear power station.
Next question, please. Fu-san.
Fu from Singapore Press Holdings. I'd like to ask Mr. Nishiyama, follow up with the last question, because after this thing happened, most of the overseas people really cared about it and want to know when everything is over and everything be set up. So if you've complete your strategy, I would like to know that, do you count it as weeks or months? You can tell me roughly, so we'll know when that the overseas people and my country, or we can do something on that. Thank you.
シンガポールプレスホールディングスのものですけれども、西山審議官に先ほどの関連質問があります。今回の事故が起きて以来、ほとんどの海外の諸国は大変心配をしておりまして、いつ頃これが収束するのか、そして安定的な状況に至るのかということを知りたがっております。今、西山審議官がご説明になった戦略が完了するまでには大体でいいんですけれども、何週間単位なんでしょうか、あるいは何ヶ月単位かかるんでしょうか。私ども海外の省か、あるいは我が国がなんとか対応できたと、ちょっと最後のこの意味が分からなかったんですが、大体いつ頃になると思われますでしょうか。
これはなかなか今申し上げることが難しい状況ですね。今やっています水に関する行動がある程度見えてきたところで申し上げることができるかもしれないと思いますけれども、現時点ではなかなか何週間か何ヶ月かということを申し上げるのは難しいです。
That would be rather difficult to tell at the moment. Perhaps we will be able to have a better picture once the work we are doing with the accumulated water gets to a certain point where we can see what will happen next. So at the present moment, it is difficult for me to tell whether it's going to be weeks or months.
山口さん。
すみません、AP 通信の山口です。西山審議官にお尋ねしたいんですけれども、先ほど冷却停止というところまで持ち込んで、その後さらに汚染したプラントを処理するというプロセスがあるというふうにおっしゃったと思うんですけれども、具体的にはどういうその過程を経て概要でいいんですけれども、それがどれくらいかかるものか教えていただきたいと思います。
山口 from AP. I have a question to Mr. Nishiyama. Mr. Nishiyama, you mentioned that the objective would be one, to bring the reactors to a cold shutdown, and then also to treat and manage the contamination in the nuclear power station. Can you give us more in concrete terms what kind of process you will be following? An outline would be fine, and how long that process is going to take.
このプラントが多分今日勝俣会長も、東京電力の勝俣会長も1号機から4号機までは廃炉になるであろうというふうにおっしゃってますけれども、仮にそうだとして、その廃炉の手続きというのはやはり法律に基づいて 順序よく進めてもらわなければいけません。
As Chairman Katsumata of TEPCO stated today, of the nuclear power stations, most probably units number 1 through 4 are going to be decommissioned. And the procedures for decommissioning of these reactors will have to be undertaken properly in accordance to the relevant laws.
それでラフに言えばまず放射能のない外側から処理していって、だんだんと放射能の一番、濃いところを時間をかけて、解体していくことになりますので、その間には10年以上の歳月がかかります。
So just to give you a rough outline, first of all, the treatment and the disposal will start with the outer periphery where there is no or very little radioactivity, and then gradually move on to the areas with the highest levels of radioactivity. And it will take a considerable amount of time to dismantle. And so, roughly speaking, the time that will be required will probably be more than 10 years.
Any other questions?
もう一つ西山真撃さんにお尋ねしたいんですが、今日の原子力安全保安院等の対応というところで各電気事業者に対して他の発電所の安全対策の実施に関わる指示を出されたということですが、具体的にどういうところを点検するとかどういう改善を加えるというふうな指示であり対応を求めていて、なおかついつまでにやって報告をしなさいというような指示なのかどうかもう少し詳しく教えていただければと思います。
I have another question also to Mr. Nishiyama. Today, the Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency gave instructions to all the electric power utilities to take measures to inspect the safety of other power generation plants. And in concrete terms, what kind of inspection was included in the instructions, and what kind of improvements were included in the instructions, and what kind of measures were required or requested in the instructions, and also by when are these inspections to take place, and by when is the report to be submitted? Can you give us a more detailed account of these points?
今回の私どもが求めておりますのは、第一に電源車を配備して緊急時の電源を確保すること、第二に消防車を配備して消火ホースにより給水経路を確保して原子炉とか使用済み燃料プールの冷却機能を確保すること、第三にこれらの緊急時の対応の実施手順を整備して訓練を行っておくことであります。
The emergency safety measures that we have required of the electric power utilities are the following. One, to arrange for a power source vehicle in order to secure the necessary power source in times of emergency. Number two, to arrange for a fire extinguishing vehicle and secure a water supply route through the fire extinguishing hose in order to secure the cooling function for both the reactor and the spent fuel pool. And 3, to develop a implementation manual, including these points, to deal with any emergencies and to undertake training.
こういったことに対応してもらった上で、事業者のその対策の実施状況を原子力安全保安院が検査をいたしまして、その実効性を確認します。
And upon having all of the electric power utilities take the measures that I have mentioned above, the Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency will inspect the status of implementation of these emergency safety measures by each of the electric power utilities and confirm its effectiveness.
で時間的な感覚としては、今申し上げたような対策を作ってもらい、それを2社が確認するところを含めて、大体1ヶ月ぐらいのタームを考えています。
And regarding the time span for these activities, including the development by the electric power utilities of the measures that will be able to deal with the requirements that we have instructed, and also the inspection by NISA and the confirmation by NISA, including this entire process, we are assuming a period of about 1 month for all of these measures.
Another question for Nishiyama-san. Yesterday in the Guardian newspaper, there was an article based on a research head of GE at the time when two of GE's reactors were installed in the Fukushima plant. And this guy said that according to what he could see of the different radiation measurements, etc., he felt that there had been a meltdown through the reactor vessel, through the containment vessel, and onto the concrete floor. I don't think you would agree with this. Could you tell me, if that is the case, could you tell me why? Thank you.
もう一つ西山さんに質問があるんですけれども、昨日ガーディアンが GE の関係者がやった研究にのっとって記事を出しているんですけれども、これは福島原発の原子炉のうち2つが GE の原子炉が取り付けられているということに基づいて、この GE の研究者が言うには、現在出ている放射能の測定レベルなどから推察するに、おそらく圧力容器において溶融が起こっていて、これが格納容器にまで染み出ていて、最終的にはコンクリの床にまで染み出ているような気がするということなんですけれども、当然、これには同意なさらない、あるいは同意してくださいということはないとまでは言いませんけれども、もしそうだとしたら、なぜそういうことが起こっているとお考えですか。
まず我々は一時、この燃料が水から頭を出している時期があって、それによってこの燃料が冷やされずに損傷を受けたことは間違いないと思っています。
First of all, we consider that there is no doubt that at one time part of the fuel was not submerged in water, and as a result the fuel was not cooled during that time, and some damage probably it was suffered by the fuel.
でその後は水を継続的に注ぎ込んで冷却することをずっと努めておりまして、その後には燃料が水との関係で、燃料がさらに損傷したということについては我々は損傷したというデータは今のところ持っていません。
But after that, we have been making an effort to cool the fuel by continuously injecting or spraying water. And so, since we have started to inject and spray water, we do not have any data that shows any further damage to the fuel.
それでこれまでの放射性物質の放出の状況を見ると、圧力容器にしても格納容器にしても、何かそれが大きく壊れているというふうには思いませんけれども、一定のリークはあるということは確実だと思っておりまして、今のところその状態で、なんとかコールドシャットダウンに持っていきたいと考えているところです。
And also, when we look at the release of radioactive material up to now, while we do not believe there is any major breach to either the power pressure vessel or the containment vessel, we consider that it is pretty certain that there is some leakage. And at the moment, we wish to bring the facility to a cold shutdown as it is now.
Given the time limitations, we would like to conclude this evening's press briefing. We will be holding a similar briefing probably tomorrow. Thank you.